A very warm welcome to this Sunday's game. I'm your host, Alan Moore, and I am delighted to say I'm going to go somewhere right now that's a little bit warmer than where I am right now. As you know, Irish people, when we go abroad, we love to see locals taking up our games, taking up our culture, improving them, enjoying them, and giving us the joy back that we felt when we were kids when we first picked up a hurl or started to kick a Gaelic football. It's a brilliant feeling, and it's great when you get to speak with these people and work with these people, and especially this next person I'm going to have on. He's making his debut here with us. It's his first time on this game, but I've known him for many years, and I'm honoured, proud, and delighted to welcome on to the show the chairperson of the Federation of Gaelic Games in France, Mr. Nathan Begoc. Nathan, you're very welcome.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here. Hello to everyone.
I will say, just to explain to people, that because of camera issues, we can't see Nathan, but he's a very good-looking fellow, and I'm going to just show a picture of him right away, and then we're not going to talk about the World Games just yet, but he is here, front and centre, in front of our the GGE secretary here. As you're looking at us on the right-hand side there, smiling with a lovely beard, that's Nathan. So that was with the European Wolves at the World Games this summer in Derry. Before we get on to the World Games, Nathan, I want to ask you, how did you yourself get involved in Gaelic games? Why did you take them up?
Well, actually, I just heard about the games at some point in the press here in Brittany, because I'm from Brittany myself, from Brest precisely. And I said, yeah, okay, let's just give it a try. So just went there to first see a game. In the end, I was playing by the end of the day on the pitch, and I said, okay, I really liked this game. So yeah, I just started to train and play regularly, and then I was so excited about the sport that I just wanted to do more for it. So then I first got involved in the club, and just step by step you get more and more involved, and then I became secretary of the French Federation back in 2019, and then chairperson back in 2021. So yeah, it's just basically because I just like the game and just want to make it grow.
And not just and when you say game, and I will emphasize this, when Nathan says game, he means games all over, because they've even appointed a very strong camogie officer, as in Maud from Paris, who is going to drive it on as well. And of course, hurling had a historic first at the World Games this year. We'll speak about it a little bit later. And then it was a very good year on and off the field for France in general and all the regions around France. Can you just give us an overview of how many clubs are in France, what's the competitions like, and of course you're back in season right now because your new season has begun in the autumn.
Yeah, definitely. So actually we use the school calendar year, so we start the season in September, October, and end it in June. So overall we have now 30 clubs and about 1,000 players, but the numbers are increasing every year. Like we have every year about 2 or 3 new clubs, like nearly 10% growth of players every year. So we have a really good dynamic, and all over France. So we still have a lot of clubs in Western France, especially in Brittany. But yeah, we also have many new clubs in some other region, like southwestern France. For example, we have new clubs in Agen or Pau, which are like just middle-sized cities. But yeah, that's very interesting to see that the games are growing all over France. And yeah, we are having a lot of competitions. We start first of the season with like regional leagues. So you just play against the neighboring teams. That's just the start of the season. So we have many new players coming every year that never played any games before. And then step by step, you go up to the national tournaments, with the big highlight of our year being the French finals, which are held in June. So we had the last one in Nantes back in 2023, and the next one will be in Bordeaux. So that's the big highlight of the year, with all of the French football players coming up and just playing for a full day with 3 grades for men, 1 for ladies, and yeah, that's basically the highlight of the year for football. And then we also have a few handball tournaments over the year that are quite growing a lot as well. Unfortunately, we do not have any hurling competitions yet, but that's something we would really like to have in the future. To have some hurling games back in France, maybe like a French league of hurling, that would be amazing.
It's step by step, Nathan, and of course,
Yeah,
I'm delighted you mentioned handball because I've seen it in different regions, even up in Paris, where they've taken it up, especially with the new one ball initiative. We spoke with Fionn last week, Fionn O'Sullivan, our handball officer, and French clubs and French people have really taken it on because it's something it's quite easy to play. And again, hurling and camogie are slightly more difficult to play in terms of with equipment, but still, I know you guys are working hard on it, so that like it's in very safe hands. Um, on that, we'll have a chat about the World Games, and again, so as I said, like you were involved in European Wolves. Before we look at around the region, how you got that on, can you tell me what was your impression of the World Games this year, and how was it? For
sorry, I can't hear you. I couldn't hear what you were saying. Yes.
Sure. So, in terms of the World Games this year, just you personally, what was the experience you had, and what was the overall experience and feedback you got from French players and coaches who went to Derry?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that I actually was really proud to see all these players on the pitch. We had over 200 players, 13 teams with just players from France, all international born. Then we had other players like myself playing for other European or international teams. We also had a few Irish players from France, well, living in France, playing for open teams. So yeah, I was just so proud to see so many people going there, playing, just enjoying the games. So yeah, that's something like a really amazing feeling, and also to see that we have got some pretty good results with the French men's team playing the final uh, for the senior grade, then the intermediate. The final was two French teams playing against each other. Some very good results for the ladies with the French ladies team playing the semi-final, the Breton ladies team as well going to the highest grade. So yeah, actually, I was just really proud to see that many people on the pitch playing such good games, and yeah, also yeah, like very good feedback from all of the players, the coaches that went there because they just had a really good time.
I mean, I met and interviewed the different French teams before, during, and even after the World Games, and met some of them the first night out, and they were excited to be there. Many of them it wasn't their first time, and you could see how they really got themselves involved. It was something very different than even in Waterford, where they felt confident about their place within Gaelic Games, so they felt like this we're meant to be here. Because a very good result, of course, was for Gascony, who were terrific throughout the games. They had like men's and ladies teams in football. And of course, we see them here when they in Celtic Park they won their grade, and the women celebrating with the men. How important was it for the regions of France to also have representation? And of course, I was delighted to see you here, partly because you were the person who ensured that all these regions got their day in the Derry Sun.
Well, yeah, that's very interesting to have all of these regional teams playing. Actually, it first started back in 2012 with the Brittany team playing against Galicia back at the time. So we always have had that culture of regional football. But that's interesting because we've got quite a lot of players that played in these regional teams, and so well, the guys just and the ladies played together during the World Games, but now since the season started back, they just play uh, back against each other in their own clubs. But it really strengthened the links that clubs have between each other, and that's really important for the cohesion of these leagues. So now that the league season started back since a few weeks, uh, just like we had the men from Gasconia, they had a tournament back a few weeks ago, and they were just they know each other, even they do not play in the same club, but it really gives a good atmosphere in all of the games.
Again, is bonding and it's growing, and people then excite each other and push each other on. So yeah, it was great to see. Of course, just to mention, of course, this is your region. This is Brittany, the two teams, the men's team and the ladies team, who did very, very well. In Brittany, just very briefly, you could tell us how important, how big are Gaelic Games, Nathan?
Well, actually, it's pretty big. We have like around 1/3 of our clubs and 45% of our members that play in Britain clubs. Uh, so we have to know that it really started in Brittany about 25 years ago, and yeah, it really grew quite quickly in terms of number of clubs. But now, since a few years, we have less new clubs, but we have a new kind of development, which is inside of the clubs. So we have now nearly all of the clubs have a ladies team. We also have B teams for the biggest clubs. And also, what's the most important on my side is that we have now youth teams. So we have very, very invested members from the clubs that just train kids every weekend. And we have seen that we have pretty good results because we have the Van Club won the Fela this year, the European Fela, and went to Ireland to play back in the summer. So that's a big achievement that we've had this year, just this youth team making it all the way to Ireland. And that's something we are really proud of and that we want to keep working on in the future.
Just on that topic alone, we did speak with Pierce and Finn and all the kids who took part in that quite recently from Van, and they were extremely excited about how it worked out and how it was. Is there a growing focus now on developing younger players in putting youth structures in place, Nathan?
Yeah, definitely. That's really something we want and that we have to work on because that's just the future of the games. Our objective is to sustain the games here in France. So for that, we need to have local players or people that stay on the long term on the place. But we also know that we need to have young players that start playing when they are 6 or 7, because now most of the players that play as adults, they just started when they were like 25 or 27 years old. So it means that they could have started like maybe 20 years before. And yeah, so we strongly believe that if we have younger players, we'll have more and more players in our clubs and also better players.
Yeah, because they've got like huge experience. They're born into it, so they become, as we always say, more Irish than the Irish themselves. So they become getting the ball from birth. I have a short video course of the Van players playing in Crow Park, and this was a huge one. Speaking with with Pierce's son Finn, it was so exciting to go onto that sacred turf. So we'll just have a little show of this video right now, and then we've something else historic to speak about as well.
It wasn't important on the other side when you say that's where women from the Arctic Guard to help others in other countries. For 50 years, the people of Ireland have been incredibly generous towards children. We have managed to tackle poverty and the injustice with their support. We've had impact on the lives of tens of millions of people, helping to eradicate poverty.
Now, as Nathan said, this is a superb moment when these children are able to get and walk out into Crow Park. But of course, that's one way. But of course, we have to look forward, of course, to the other Gaels in France who are digging away. Of course, that's in hurling, and it was a historic first this year for the men's French hurling team. Many camogie players are playing, for example, for the European team. Here are the men's hurlers when they're getting their medals at the final closing ceremonies. We have a short video, one that's, I think it's relatively historic for hurling, and after it plays, please describe why this is so important about.
Jesus, come on, lads!
Go. You should have let it over.
But then why was that so important for France and for French hurling? What with that goal we saw, but why was that match so important?
Well, actually, this game is the first win ever of the French national hurling team. So, of course, that's an historical moment. Like, I think 3 years ago, we were far from having a hurling team at the last World Games, but this year we had one, and yeah, it will definitely keep going in the next few years, and we'll have hurling teams and maybe teams in plural at the next World Games. Um, yeah, that's something we've been working on in the past few years. We have a very dedicated hurling officer. Tom, he was in the team, as well as Maud, the Camogie officer, who is as well pretty much dedicated. But one of our objectives is to develop all of the codes, and including hurling and Camogie. So we hope to have a Camogie team as well in the future. But yeah, it's just starting, and as well, just like we did for football, we go step by step with the now, I would say, around 20-25 players playing all over France, but we hope to increase in the future. And yeah, and also to have a local league of hurling in France. So that's something we hope to do in the next few years.
Again, you said step by step, and the most important thing that I know you're taking the right steps as well. We have one more short little bit in discourse is another team, Alsace, who are playing. So we just showed this before we finish up our chat today.
Alsace warming up as Iberia are on the field.
Yeah, sorry about my voice over, but there you go. It is what it is. It was my job. But all of that is nothing without getting the proper development, proper coaching structures in place. And France have been to the forefront of that, not only just getting into schools to coach kids. Of course, we know that up in Brittany with Anna Marie and all the teams and the clubs and the Federation, of course, as well, putting it together. Also, then coaching coaches is extremely important. This is a recent one, Nathan. Can you just tell us a bit about it and the view that you have, that the Federation have, of developing your own coaches to grow our games?
Yeah, well, we know that if we want to improve in our games, and that if clubs want to get a better structure, we need to have trained coaches. So we are quite lucky to have 3 coaches. The tutors that train coaches. So you have Olivier here in the middle, and as well there is Tanguy and Anna Marie. Actually, they've been involved in the game for the last 20 years, over 20 years. They're like some of our oldest members, but they really share this experience with the new coaches, and that's really important for them to see how you work on coaching, because you need that to, when you are at the training, you need to have a structure so that the players can improve. And that's kind of different, I would say, that's what's in Ireland, because at the same time you have very new players that just come for the first time and training together with people that have been playing for 10 years. So you have to find the right balance between players that have been there for a long time and just new players that are just beginning. So that's very important for us. And yeah, I have to say that it's even more important for us to train properly our coaches, and we're lucky to do that, especially that our tutors speak French, as most of our members, so that's really important, because that's way easier for the future coaches to understand.
Again, it all makes sense. So you're able to be self-sufficient and also to keep developing. And when you have the top coaches who are well linked with Ireland, they can get all the updated information and keep developing. So yeah, it's extremely important. On that, of course, we've spoken about the leagues and the competitions in France and how they're all building up. In the French finals, of course, earlier this year, started somewhere in Nantes. One issue, of course, that has been raised by the Federation in France is the Pan-Euros, which are traditionally held, and I say traditionally, but traditions can change, traditionally held in October. Doesn't suit all clubs, doesn't suit all regions, but it's something that has just always happened as it is. France have put forward an idea that maybe to move it to June or move it to May or to July, like to sort of like see what can be done with it. Why is that idea being brought forward now, Nathan? And how would it, in your opinion, benefit French Gaelic football and also European Gaelic football?
Well, our opinion is that the future of the Gaelic Games in Europe, and not only in Europe but in the whole world, is not only Irish people going abroad, but that's local people taking onto the game. Like if we only had Irish players, like you have in most of the European clubs, we maybe would only have 3 or 4 clubs in France, but now we have 30. And that's the same in some other regions, just like Galicia. They have 10 clubs, but just because they have local playing the games. So we strongly believe that to develop the games, we have to go to locals. And for us, that's important that Gaelic games adapt to the format that these people are used to. Because, for example, Pan-Euros were last month, and so I played them, and I was talking to my friends and family, and they were saying, okay, but why is that in October? You just started the season, and that's already the Pan-Euros. And same for the new players that joined training. It's just like they've been playing for a couple of weeks, and that's already the time to play the Pan-Euros. So our opinion is that having them in June, which is the end of the season for us, and soccer, basketball, they just have their league during the year and the finals, the European finals that come in the end of the season. So our wish is to have these competitions at the end of the year to fit, well, at the end of the season, which is our season that goes until June, so that we can have a rhythm of competitions that is adapted to what people know here in Europe, in continental Europe, so that it fits to what people know, and in this way we can have more and more local people joining.
So kind of fitting on the natural flow, as we always follow at home in Ireland, of the school year. So you start in September, you finish in May, June, and then overall, what has the feedback been like from other clubs in Europe, and say, for example, some of the clubs that have a more heavily Irish influenced group involved?
Well, this we'll see at the GAA convention next week. That's going to be one of the hot topics, I guess. Well, I think it's going to be difficult for some regions to adapt. Of course, some have strong countries, just like the Nordics, because just in winter time, of course, you cannot play it. That makes full sense. That's just like in other sports, like if you take soccer, for example, they play the league on a calendar year, but still play the European competitions on the full year. But anyway, I think that's now a big choice that clubs and Gaelic Games Europe in general have to make to see in what direction we are going. So do we try to adapt the Gaelic Games to the European context, or do we just do what's done in Ireland? That's just the debate we're going to have, but I definitely think that we need to find the right solutions to get more and more local players, and not only in France and Galicia. I know it's starting up in Germany, but I hope someday to see a Polish or Slovak or an Italian. Italy already has a team, but a full Polish and Slovak team at the World Games would be amazing.
Again, it is the future. It's the house. It's meant to grow. So it's it's logical. And as you said, we'll see what comes out of Malmo next week. So it'll be very, very interesting. On that note, Nathan, I'll say thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for your time, and the very best and bon chance for the continued development of Gaelic Games in France.
Well, you're welcome. I was really glad to be here and to talk about the development of the first GAA. And hopefully, for the next interview, we'll still have more and more players and clubs around. So, yeah, thanks a lot.
That's for sure, for sure. And on that note, I will wait me for a moment and I'll say goodbye to everyone and say thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a little bit of a taste of how things are developing in France and also how they can be developed even further and how we can all help each other to continue developing our Gaelic games across the continent. And on that note, I will say take care of yourselves and each other and see you next time on this Sunday's Game.